As Poppy Playtime continues to unravel its web of secrets, players have been left to wonder, who, or what, exactly is the prototype? This terrifying, humanoid monstrosity with a grotesque appearance, seemingly a mix of man and machine, seems like the product of some twisted experiment gone wrong. But what if the prototype isn't just a creation? It's Elliot Ludwig himself, the man behind Playtime Company. In Chapter 4, we're introduced to the prototype as a horrifying figure, more machine than man. It's an amalgamation of mechanical parts and human-like traits, which might have been created as the result of Playtime Co's obsession with pushing the boundaries of technology and life itself. But what if, instead of being the product of an outside force, the prototype is actually the outcome of Ludwig's own personal experiment, a desperate attempt to save himself from the ravages of time and mortality? Chapter 5 Gameplay. Imagine that in Chapter 5, as we descend deeper into the factory's darkest corners, we uncover shocking revelations about the true origins of the prototype. Instead of simply encountering a monster, we're led to the realization that Elliot Ludwig wasn't just the creator of Playtime Co. He was the first victim of its horrific experiments. The man behind the company's rise to power was slowly deteriorating, desperate to maintain his control and his legacy, and in his desperation, he turned to the very technology he was developing, the ability to transfer human consciousness into toys. Ludwig, as an aging man, could have been horrified at the idea of losing his mind and his creations to the hands of time. In a twisted attempt to achieve immortality, he might have subjected himself to a series of cruel experiments, merging his body with the very machinery that had been used to create living toys. This would explain why the prototype is so human-like in some ways, because it's not just a toy brought to life, it's a man whose body has been fused with technology. In gameplay, this could play out as we begin to uncover the horrifying details of Ludwig's descent into madness. We might find personal recordings, notes, and other evidence that show his growing obsession with staying alive in one form or another. There could be a series of flashbacks or dream sequences that reveal Ludwig's initial, innocent intentions when founding Playtime Co., only for those dreams to turn into nightmares as he tried to force himself into becoming something more than human. We could even encounter some weird, eerie versions of Ludwig's past toys, dolls that were once just models, but now appear to be his distorted attempts at preserving his humanity. The more we explore, the more we find that the prototype isn't just a mindless killer. It's a sentient being, aware of its own existence and the horrible truth behind its creation. The transformation. Here's where things get even crazier. What if the prototype isn't just a failed experiment? What if it's actually Elliot Ludwig's mind trapped in the monstrous body, but in a twisted, corrupted version of himself? Perhaps the process of merging his consciousness with machinery wasn't perfect. Instead of achieving immortality, he created a horrifying, living version of himself, a grotesque, cybernetic entity that continues to suffer, even after death. In Chapter 5, we could face moments where we get glimpses of Ludwig's true self beneath the mask of the prototype. There might be moments where the creature seems to hesitate, or its actions become less aggressive, as if the human part of him is struggling to break through the machinery. It could almost feel like we're confronting not just a monster, but a trapped soul, someone who desperately wants to reach out, but can't control the monster he's become. Gameplay-wise, this could manifest in eerie, unsettling encounters with the prototype, where the player feels as if they're being hunted. But at the same time, there's a weird, tragic sense of recognition. The prototype might not want to hurt us, but it's driven by the twisted instincts of its programming and the remnants of Ludwig's own tortured mind. The factory's secret. As we move further into the factory, we could uncover the true purpose behind Playtime Co.'s creations. The factory wasn't just making toys for children. It was part of a much darker scheme to transfer the consciousness of the wealthy elite into these toys, so they could live forever. Elliot Ludwig's experiments were supposed to be the pinnacle of this technology, except, instead of immortality, it created something far worse. The prototype might represent a failed attempt at preserving the human mind in a machine, but it's still alive, and it's aware of its torment. This raises the possibility that other prototypes, perhaps the original toys, or failed versions of the prototype, were actually other people who went through the same process. The factory could be littered with the twisted, corrupted remains of other experiments. The final twist. So, what happens at the end of Chapter 5? Well, as we get closer to the heart of the factory, we might face an incredibly difficult moral decision. If the prototype is truly Elliot Ludwig, then killing it would mean ending the life of the man behind Playtime Co. But is he still Elliot? Or is he simply a twisted shadow of what he once was? And if we don't destroy him, what kind of horrors could he unleash on the world? Perhaps in the end, the prototype could even help us escape, as it sees us as the last chance to finally put an end to the nightmare he created. But his assistance comes with a cost. His suffering is endless, and in helping us, he might be seeking redemption or peace that he can never truly achieve. Conclusion. In the end, the theory that Elliot Ludwig is the prototype takes Poppy Playtime in a darker, more tragic direction. The true horror isn't just the toys or the creatures, they are the consequence of a man's desperate need for immortality. A man who lost himself in the process. The prototype is both a monster and a victim, a tragic creation, born out of one man's twisted vision of immortality. Chapter 5 would bring the horrors of Playtime Company full circle, making the prototype not just a mindless killing machine, but a tortured soul trapped in an inhuman body. In the end, it might be up to us to finally end Ludwig's cycle of suffering, or risk becoming a part of it forever. What do you think? Is Ludwig the prototype? Or is there a darker force still lurking behind the scenes? Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Drop a comment with your thoughts. I want to hear what you think. And as always, stay awesome and take care. Catch you in the next one.